Every time you talk, when you should stay quiet, you give away your power. That tight feeling in your chest when someone waits for you to speak, it's not just stress, it's a chance to gain control. What if the words you never say could give you more power than any words you speak? What if your silence could make others show you everything they're hiding? Have you ever seen how the person who talks the least often walks away with the most power? There's a kind of fear that shows up in your mind when you face silence where an answer should be. The tension grows in your chest. Your mind rushes to fill the empty space. And in that moment of fear and doubt, something big happens. You start to reveal your true self. People who know how to use silence don't just hear more, they can see right through you. Think about the last time someone asked you a hard, maybe even uncomfortable question. Did you feel that strong need to fill the silence with words, any words, just to make the tension go away? What if I told you that the person on the other side was watching you like a chess player, making that silence on purpose? Your words often tell others more than you want them to know. The smartest power players in history knew something most people never learn. Empty spaces in conversation aren't something to fear. They're traps that work almost like machines. When used right, your silence becomes a mirror that forces others to show their deepest thoughts, fears, and plans. Picture yourself sitting across from someone who has control over something you want, maybe a job, a date, or someone you really want to impress. They ask you a question, and instead of answering, you keep eye contact and say nothing. Feel that discomfort rising. That's the vacuum starting to work. In the spaces where you should speak, others put their biggest hopes or worst fears. And in that moment, they tell you everything you need to know about them, while giving you the power in the situation. This isn't about tricking people. It's about knowing how humans work at the most basic level. The vacuum protocol isn't just about being quiet. It's about making careful spaces of silence that get specific truths from those around you. Once you master it, it becomes your best tool for understanding what others truly want, fear, and believe. Look at your life right now. How many chances have you lost because you couldn't stop yourself from filling every silence? The job that went to someone else because you explained too much in the interview. The deal where you took less money than you deserved because the silence made you nervous. The relationship where you shared too much too soon, killing the mystery that might have made a deeper connection. You don't lose because you're not good enough. You lose because you can't stay quiet. Most people live always sharing too much, a desperate need to be understood, to be approved, to fill every moment with noise. And with each word, they don't need to say, they give away power, showing weak spots that others use against them. You've felt this happen, haven't you? That sinking feeling when you've said too much, and it's too late to take it back. Take a breath. Think about who knows too much about you. Not because you trust them, but because you couldn't handle their silence. Think about the last argument you lost. Was it really because the other person had better points? Or was it because they stayed quiet at key moments, letting you talk yourself into a corner? How many times have you left a conversation feeling strangely exposed, like you shared more than you meant to, while learning nothing about the other person? This habit of sharing too much creates a life where others always have the upper hand, where you're always reacting instead of acting with a plan, where your emotional triggers are easy to see for anyone paying attention, while others stay mysteries to you. Who in your life knows exactly how to make you defensive, angry, or insecure? Who can predict how you'll react with scary accuracy? These people have mastered the vacuum protocol against you, maybe without even knowing it. They've created spaces where your fears pour out while they stay calm and watch. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's a weapon they never see coming. Drop a fire emoji if you've ever left a talk, wondering why you shared so much, while learning so little about the other person. Niccolò Machiavelli, one of history's most famous strategists, understood the power of planned silence centuries before modern psychology gave it a name. In his book, The Prince, he says, "Most people are fooled by what they see, and the world is mostly full of these people." What Machiavelli knew was that humans are meaning makers. We can't stand uncertainty or emptiness. We don't fear silence. We fear what it might say about us. Machiavelli's insight changed everything. Power doesn't come from controlling what others think, but from creating situations where they reveal their thoughts while you hide yours. Think about his advice to princes. Never try to win by force what you can win by deception. The vacuum protocol is the ultimate form of this idea. Not lying, but a planned absence that others fill with their own thoughts. Think of silence like a bowl, not empty, but full of potential. When you place this bowl in front of someone, their mind automatically fills it with content. Psychologists now call this the projection mechanism. We project our own thoughts, fears, and wants onto unclear situations. Carl Jung built on this understanding, saying, "Everything that bothers us about others can lead us to understand ourselves." The vacuum protocol uses this mental rule with powerful effect. By creating these empty spaces in information, you turn normal talks into deep revelations about psychology. You become the blank screen where others project their inner truths. Think about the Japanese idea of ma, the powerful space between things. In traditional Japanese art, the empty space in a painting often has more meaning than the brush strokes themselves. A famous 16th century tea master built entire ceremonies around the power of planned emptiness, showing that what is left unsaid often says more than what is stated out loud. Throughout history, silence has been used as a tool by those who understand human nature. The ancient Spartans were famous for their short speech. The term laconic itself comes from Laconia, the region where Sparta was located. When Philip II of Macedon threatened, "If I invade Laconia, I will destroy Sparta completely," the Spartan leaders answered with a single word: "If." That planned information vacuum forced Philip to think about all the possible results of his actions, weakening his resolve. One word can hold more power than 1,000, if surrounded by the right silence. Even in modern important talks, the power of silence remains unbeaten. A former FBI hostage negotiator calls planned silence the most powerful tool in negotiation. When dealing with a difficult person, he suggests creating an information vacuum through careful silence, then watching as the other party tries desperately to fill it, often with deals and revelations they never meant to make. What all these different traditions recognize is a basic truth about human psychology. Nature hates a vacuum, and the human mind hates uncertainty even more. By mastering the creation of these vacuums, you gain access to what others truly think, feel, and fear, often before they consciously realize it themselves. The vacuum protocol works on 3 different psychological levels, each more powerful than the last. Understanding these levels changes it from a simple manipulation trick into a sophisticated tool for finding truth and strategic clarity. The first level is what I call the immediate discomfort response. When you create an information vacuum in conversation, asking a probing question and then staying quiet, for example, the other person feels immediate psychological discomfort. This discomfort comes from a primitive part of our brain that sees social uncertainty as a potential threat. Your silence creates chaos in another person's mind. Their chaos shows their truth. Studies at Harvard have shown that when conversation goes silent for more than 4 seconds, it triggers the same stress responses as physical danger. Your fear center, the amygdala, activates, flooding your system with stress hormones. Under this pressure, people drop their careful masks and reveal unfiltered thoughts. They'll often say things they never meant to share, just to break the tension. But there's a manipulator hiding here. The part of you that might use this knowledge just to get information without real connection. This shallow use of the vacuum protocol might win you short-term advantages, but creates long-term distrust. The true power goes deeper. Stop. Think about what you've been reading. Not just the words, but the spaces I've made for you to process them. The second level is the projection mechanism. When faced with unclear situations, humans don't just feel uncomfortable. They actively project their inner world onto that empty space. This is why two people can see the same silence and interpret it completely differently. One sees judgment, another sees thoughtfulness. One sees not caring, another sees strategic thinking. What they're really seeing is themselves, their hopes, fears, and unresolved emotional patterns reflected back. As Carl Jung noted, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to understand ourselves. The vacuum you create becomes a psychological mirror, revealing not just what others think about the situation, but how they fundamentally process reality. You don't need to figure people out. Just create the right silence, and they'll reveal themselves to you. Think about how this works in real life. You make an offer in a business deal, then go completely silent. The nervous person across from you might quickly offer better terms, showing their fear of rejection. The aggressive person might fill the silence with demands, showing their insecurity and need for control. The confident person might join you in comfortable silence, showing their security and strategic patience. Without saying a word, you've learned crucial information about their style, emotional triggers, and self-image. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. Remember this phrase. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. The third and deepest level of the vacuum protocol is what thinkers call existential revelation. Long-planned silence, especially in important relationships or decisions, creates a space where fundamental truths eventually emerge. This isn't about a quick conversation, but about sustained information imbalance that reveals people's core nature over time. Think of the wise grandparent who speaks rarely, but whose words carry huge weight precisely because of their rarity. Or think about the respected leader who listens far more than they speak, creating an environment where others reveal their true abilities and limits. This level of the protocol isn't manipulative, it's clarifying. It separates real connection from social performance. The mirror shows up here, not as someone who merely reflects others back to themselves, but as someone who helps others see themselves clearly, maybe for the first time. By refusing to fill every silence with noise, you create spaces where genuine self-awareness becomes possible, both for yourself and others. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. The power of this truth works in all kinds of situations. Your words can't change reality, but your silence can reveal it. In negotiations, the vacuum protocol reveals what the other party truly values versus what they just claim to value. Watch someone long enough in silence, and their priorities become clear through their actions, regardless of their words. In relationships, it shows the difference between those who are comfortable with your true self and those who just want to shape you into their expectations. Those who can sit with you in comfortable silence often have the deepest connection to your true nature. For your own growth, it creates space for your own forgotten voice to emerge. Modern life drowns us in constant noise and information. Strategic silence allows your deepest wisdom to surface again. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. This isn't just about tactical advantage. It's about taking back your power of discernment. The vacuum protocol's greatest power comes not from what it takes from others, but from what it reveals about reality that would otherwise stay hidden. By creating these deliberate empty spaces, you build a more accurate map of the social and emotional territory around you. And in a world of constant noise and manipulation, accurate maps are perhaps the most valuable resource of all. Let's face an uncomfortable truth. You've been trained your entire life to fear silence. From your earliest years, you were taught that social worth comes from having the right words at the right time. School rewards the quick answer, not the thoughtful pause. Social media rewards your constant sharing while punishing reflective absence. Office culture celebrates the loudest voice in the room, rarely the most insightful. You didn't learn to fear silence on your own. You were taught to fear it. This training has created a false identity, the reactor. The reactor believes they must respond right away to every stimulus. They feel forced to fill every silence, to have an opinion on every topic, to answer every message without delay. The reactor lives in constant performance mode, always seeking approval through words rather than presence. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you speak before your thoughts are fully formed? How often do you respond to messages the moment they arrive, regardless of your mental state? How many times have you given away your position in a negotiation because you couldn't stand the tension of silence? Who taught you that your silence needed a reason? Who convinced you that your value came from always being available and responding right away? Your worry about silence isn't natural. It was programmed into you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. This truth can transform every relationship and interaction in your life. Consider the alternative identity, the vacuum creator. This person understands that power comes not from filling space, but from creating it. They know that by speaking less, they hear more. By responding strategically rather than reactively, they gain accurate information while others operate on assumptions. By comfortably living in silence, they stand out in a world of noise. The vacuum creator isn't playing the same game as everyone else. While others compete for attention through constant sharing, they build mystery through strategic absence. While others exhaust themselves maintaining a consistent persona across all interactions, they reveal different sides of themselves to different people based on proven trustworthiness. While others constantly seek external validation, they develop unshakable internal clarity. Power isn't what you show, it's what you hold back. When was the last time you deliberately stayed quiet when you could have spoken? When did you last allow an uncomfortable silence to stay until it revealed something crucial? How often have you waited a full day before responding to an important message, simply to observe how the situation changed in your absence? You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. Each time you honor this truth, you take back power that was always rightfully yours. The most painful part of this transformation is recognizing how much you've already revealed to those who understand the vacuum protocol. Every time you rushed to fill a silence, you handed over leverage. Every time you over-explained, you exposed insecurities. Every time you responded instantly to a message, you signaled your emotional investment. Take another breath. Think about the last time someone waited hours to respond to you. Remember how your mind filled that space with possibilities. Those who know you best can predict your responses with scary accuracy. Not because they're psychic, but because you've trained them through consistent reactivity. They know exactly which topics make you defensive, which compliments make you pliable, which criticisms make you desperate to prove yourself. Who knows too much about your triggers and patterns? Who can manipulate your emotions through predictable sequences? Who has trained you to respond on their timeline rather than your own? You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. This isn't just a tactic, it's taking back your psychological freedom. The biggest power shift happens when you finally embrace the freedom of strategic silence, when you no longer feel forced to announce your intentions before acting, when you become comfortable being misunderstood temporarily rather than making yourself smaller to be understood immediately. When you recognize that your worth isn't determined by how quickly you respond to others' demands for explanation. Your rush to speak doesn't come from confidence, it comes from fear. The right word may be effective, but no word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause. Mark Twain understood that the space between words often carries more meaning than the words themselves. What would your communication show if you trusted this wisdom? Who might you become if you embraced the power of the vacuum rather than fearing it? You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. This truth can restore what years of social conditioning have taken from you. Go back to that moment I described at the beginning, sitting across from someone important, keeping eye contact as you deliberately create a vacuum of silence. But now see it differently. This isn't about manipulation, it's about clarity. In that silence, you're not just learning about them, you're communicating something profound about yourself, that you're someone who cannot be rushed, pressured, or manipulated through social discomfort. The most powerful person in the room isn't the one talking, it's the one who decides when to break the silence. When you master the vacuum protocol, interactions transform. Negotiations suddenly favor you, as others reveal their positions, while yours remains unclear. Relationships deepen as you create space for authentic connection, rather than performative chatter. Leadership becomes natural, as others recognize the weight your rare words carry, precisely because they are rare. The vacuum protocol begins with external application, strategic silence in conversations and negotiations, but its ultimate form is internal, creating spaces of silence within your own mind, where wisdom can emerge uncontaminated by reactive impulses. This internal vacuum becomes your source of power in a world designed to keep you perpetually distracted and reactive. Think about the person you were at the beginning of this video, someone who feared silence, who felt forced to fill every void with words, who gave away power through constant disclosure. That person was trapped in patterns created by others for their benefit, not yours. The vacuum protocol offers the key to that cage. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. This truth applies not just to others, but to the critical voice within you that demands justification for your boundaries, your strategic patience, your thoughtful restraint. When you fully embrace this protocol, you'll notice people treating you differently. They'll consider their words more carefully before speaking to you. They'll reveal more while expecting less disclosure in return. They'll sense something different about your presence, a composed certainty that comes from knowing you control the information balance in most interactions. Silence isn't the absence of something, it's the presence of everything they're afraid to discover. The ancient Spartans understood that words gain power through scarcity. Their short speech wasn't just cultural preference, it was psychological strategy. By saying less, what they did say carried immense weight. If that single word response to Philip of Macedon's threat carried more power than a long counter-argument ever could. What single words might carry that power in your life if you freed them from the clutter of unnecessary explanation? What might become possible if you embraced the vacuum as your ally rather than your enemy? Comment below with "No more explaining" if you're ready to use the vacuum protocol in your life and transform how others respond to you. This exploration of the vacuum protocol is just the beginning of uncovering the hidden psychological principles that determine success in every area of life. In our next video, I'll show you how to apply this same understanding of human nature to completely transform how others see your value and status without changing anything but your information strategy. We'll explore the revelation ratio, the perfect balance of disclosure and mystery that creates irresistible curiosity and respect in both personal and professional contexts. You'll learn exactly when to break your silence for maximum impact and how to create information imbalances that consistently work in your favor. Control what you share, and you control how people see you. This isn't about becoming manipulative. It's about developing such deep self-knowledge and strategic awareness that manipulation becomes impossible to use against you. It's about taking back control of your personal story in a world designed to exploit your psychological vulnerabilities. If you've connected with the power of strategic silence, you're ready for the next level of psychological freedom. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss this crucial next step in your transformation. Remember, the most powerful person in any interaction isn't the one with the most words, but the one with the most accurate understanding of what's really happening beneath the surface. That understanding comes only when you master the spaces between words, the strategic silences that reveal what others are desperate to hide. Subscribe now to continue this journey from psychological vulnerability to unshakable strategic clarity. In ancient monasteries, monks practiced vows of silence, not to withdraw from the world, but to see it with unprecedented clarity. What they discovered in their silence was that most of human suffering comes from reacting to illusions rather than responding to reality. The vacuum you create through strategic silence isn't empty. It's filled with truth that would otherwise remain hidden. Each time you resist the urge to fill that vacuum with hasty words, you allow reality to reveal itself undistorted by expectation or performance. The person who fears silence never hears the truth. There's a special power that comes to those who speak only when they have something worth saying. They become the still point in a turning world, the reference against which others measure themselves. Their silence isn't absence, it's presence of the highest order. Tomorrow, when someone asks you a question that triggers your impulse to immediately respond, remember, you can create a vacuum instead. You can let the silence stretch until it reveals something true. You can watch as assumptions and projections fill the space you've created, showing you what truly lies beneath the surface of the interaction. The words you don't say define you more powerfully than those you do. In a world drowning in noise, your strategic silence becomes a rare form of power, unmistakable, undeniable, and impossible to imitate. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. Within that truth lies a freedom most will never know, the freedom to be present without performing, to observe without reacting, to know without revealing. This is the essence of true power in a world that has forgotten the force of the vacuum. Let them wonder.